Hey, here we are, Cairo Mafia. I'm with the Dom, Joe
I'm with
Borio.
Capo Fred.
There you go. Here we are, man. And we are back. Actually, we missed last week, so I know you guys missed us. And we also get a lot of requests to put this on Spotify. We were on Spotify, and then somehow we got kicked off. So now we're getting it back on. So make sure you guys share these. But anyway, what we were talking about, shit, we've been just having our casual discussion for the last 15 minutes.
As always, yeah.
But let's look at the world, man. What is going on, right? RFK Jr., Secretary of the Health and Human Services. Man, all you got to do is go out on social media, and there's reel after reel after reel exposing the stuff that we've been standing on our orange crate, yelling from a microphone. For me, 36 years, you're probably pretty close.
No, I'm off quite a few, Fred. Just so you know, I'm quite a bit younger than you
Yeah,
are.
yeah,
So
whatever. Well,
Fred and I just had birthdays. Fred and I literally just had birthdays. We're pretty
yeah, we
close.
did, man.
Oh,
60. How did that feel? When I turned, sorry, one thing. When I
yeah.
turned 50, I'm like, wow, that sounds old. When I turned 60, I'm like, I don't even understand it. I can't even.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I was doing my cooking. I was doing my cooking video this weekend. I was telling a story about my grandmother, as I often do, and I was saying, I was about 9 years old, 10 years old. So I'm thinking, that was 50 years ago. Like, like that's where it's weird. Or you'll be around people and they'll be like, yeah, the couple of these guys, they were old. They were a lot older. I don't know. I'm like, how old were they? I don't know, like 60, 65. I'm thinking, yeah, I get it. Then I'm like, wait a minute, I'm 60 fucking years
Yeah.
old. What the hell is that
Well, what's
about?
worse when they go, well, yeah, they were older, and go, how old were they? 52. I'm like, I don't even
Yeah.
remember 52. I don't even know where I was living at 52. I don't even remember 52.
That's funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. So,
So happy birthday.
yeah, thanks, brother. Same to you.
Yep.
So, hey, anyway, hey, chiropractic, man. I always say chiropractic. And that's
Yes.
when I go to the gym. Here's the one good thing about age. Because I go to the gym and you end up, somebody, of course, wherever you go, it always ends up in chiropractic. Wherever you go, it's conversation. You're like, hey, man, love your shoes. Yeah, well, I used to run, but now my back hurts. It's like, how does
Right.
that happen? Everywhere you
Right.
go,
Right.
all of a sudden they want to talk about
Yeah.
chiropractic, right?
Yes.
So then it's like, and I always tell them, you give them the story, right? And then your testimonial, it's like, dude, I'm 64, and everybody, no way. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's like,
Yes.
dude, yeah, chiropractic works, man. I wouldn't be like this when I was
Yes.
33. I had disc bulges, L5, C5, lost 50% of the disc height, and I was a Gonstetter. And then once I got into spinal correction, rehydrated everything, disc bulges are gone. And that's one of the reasons. One, you want to fix subluxations, but geez, man, I learned to be a total spine geek because I had to fix myself. I was the hardest
Right.
person to fix.
Right.
I became great at
Yeah.
fixing spines because it was me.
Yes.
Like my patients were easy.
Yes.
So anyway, so when you look what's going on in the world, this is our time. I mean, my God, man, talking about all the videos on COVID and vaccination. So
Yes.
anyway, I was before we started recording, I remember being at DE and I was 2 months out of school and I heard the pure principle the first time. And we're sitting there, in a crowd of 2,000. And I literally said out loud in a total vertical time moment, like all of eternity came to pass in this one moment. And I said out loud to myself, this is a message for humanity. And then I'm like, okay. And I never thought about building a practice. I never thought about that because why would you do that? Excuse me. I'm going to change healthcare. So every person that comes in, it's changing healthcare. And so then, it's like you did you ever think you were building a practice or did you want to change lifestyle and get their family and affect generations? Like when you're talking
Yes.
to
Yeah.
a new patient, I'm not trying to create a patient.
Right.
It's like you will never go back to an MD again because you won't need it, and you're not getting your kids vaccinated, and you're not taking them to the most
Exactly.
dangerous place in the world, which is a pediatrician's office.
Right.
And so you just, when your purpose is bigger, you just speak with the whole tone changes, and then people follow you.
Yes. Yes. As you get, yeah, for me, saying what you're saying, yeah, when you first start off, it's, I got to pay the bills, holy cow, and then you're not, because you don't get it, and then you're trying to build a practice, and then something happens, and it's a culmination, right? Everything is a moment, like a brick wall is a series of bricks. So your life is a series of bricks, of a series of revelations, every brick representing a revelation, a revealing of, you hear Reggie, and then you adjust somebody, and then you hear maybe Sigfoos or Fred Barge or Sid Williams or a chiropractor in your local area or the words out of a patient. It's just a brick. And then all of a sudden, one day, you have this realization. I remember sitting in calculus class, guy by the name of Dr. Kalin, Brockport State. And I remember sitting there like Calc 1, probably halfway through calc, and I had a moment where I figured out calc. Like I didn't really get it other than before that it was just protocols and procedures, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, now I get it, now I understand what they're trying to do, or what the math was actually trying to do. And I had the same thing with chiropractic. Like all of a sudden I had that moment, and I had multiple moments where you get more principled, more understanding. And then, as you know, the further you go, you become more of a servant. At first, I think you're more dominate, trying to control things, and then you realize, like Gandhi said, right? At first, I set out to change the world, and a series of sentences, but after that, I realized the only thing I could change is me, right? So if I change me, everything else changes. So I got that, and then my goal is to change me, and then if I change me, I have a greater ability to lead others. I think it's
Yeah, well,
certainly.
you read A Course in Miracles, right?
Oh
So
yeah,
we
yeah. I got it
have
right
in our
behind me.
boot camps, which that's your background, is you got a boot camp coming up.
Yeah,
We do too in Atlanta. Where it says I'm paraphrasing, we want to change the world, but we're being called to change our mind.
yes, yes,
And that's when you change the world. I did a podcast a few years ago with Neil Donald Walsh, author of Conversations with God, world-renowned spiritual leader. And he said something that really changed my life that made things so easy. And I go, man, you're changing the lives of millions of people, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, no, no, no. He interrupted. He goes, no, 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 no. And he said, my only goal is to basically reach a Christ consciousness. And he said, when I do that, and he goes, I don't know if I'll do it in this lifetime. Pretty evolved guy, though.
right,
And he said, but the more I change myself, the more people I can help. So,
totally.
and it made things like, oh my God, man, because we have such big goals and visions, and it can be overwhelming. And then you think, if all I have to do is think about evolving my consciousness, then I'm not overwhelmed with all the things that I feel like I have to
Correct,
do, right? And
correct.
that's the problem, is we're in such a doing world, and we
Yes,
forget about being. It's
yes,
who are we being while
yes.
we're doing it?
Yes, yeah. Well, James Allen, as a man thinketh, right? And then Wallace Wattles, the science of getting rich, talks all about your mindset. I'm a huge Napoleon Hill guy. One of my favorite quotes from him is that for no man can afford through words or acts that which are not in harmony with their own beliefs. And if they choose to do so, they fail with their ability to influence other people. And my view and changing that a little is leading other people, serving other people, like, so the more I own it, the more I know it, the more my clarity, my confidence, my certainty, the more that's there, then my ability to lead others, to serve others is easier, it's higher. But if I'm in conflict, if I'm not certain, if I'm not, confident, if I lack harmony, homeostasis, if I lack um, um, authenticity, then it's difficult for me. There's an incongruency. I'm doing it for some other reason. And you could certainly get, successful by certain metrics, but you can't be where you want to be if you're in that incongruency. So,
Absolutely. So anyway, then I was thinking, I'm looking at all these videos and online, and then I thought, oh my God, man, we're just finally disrupting healthcare. And then it hit me, you look at all the things that you've studied over the years, man, because our personal evolution is
yeah,
our number one priority, right?
yes,
And so all of this leads to what I'm getting at. And then I thought, man, he's disrupting healthcare. And then I went, holy shit. When I formed Elite, my intention in Elite was to disrupt healthcare. And then I'm like, you know what? I spent 20 years studying the principles and business models of people who disrupted industries. I quote Tony Robbins a lot, right? He disrupted
yeah.
traditional psychology. So, I went to business mastery and there was an Asian dude, I forgot his name. He was like Steve Jobs' right-hand man. And he sat there and went through how they built the Apple culture. I took notes like crazy. Studied Jeff Bezos, Travis Kalanick, who founded Uber, Elon Musk. And this is where, Elon Musk, we don't sell products or services, or people don't buy products or services, they buy beliefs. So what's our strategy? Change beliefs, not educate, right? And then you look
Okay.
at all these things, man, and then it hit me. I listened to these videos, excuse me, interviews. I got a scratch in my throat. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
They're called Billionaire Mindset. And so I was
Yeah,
introduced to this guy, Keith Krach, Krach. And he was a mechanical engineer. Long story short, he developed a software that totally interrupted the whole mechanical engineering industry. He created, I think, three multi-billion-dollar companies. And then he created an e-commerce company. I think it's called, it's not Ariba. I think it's Ariba. Anyway, $3.7 trillion. And he's got a 5-step business model. And so, what are his first 3 steps? One, purpose. You got to have a North Star, right? You got to have something, right? And then core values. You have to have core values because it keeps you focused. And that's one thing that, like, you have very strict core values when you speak to a patient or the clients that you accept, right? We will create a lifestyle person, high retention that will bring their family, that will affect generations,
right.
creating a legacy, not a practice, right? Those are the core
Right.
values. And then you have standards. It was your standards, high standards of why you learned how to communicate on a higher level. It's why you had a 400 PVA, because you set the bar, but you didn't jump under it.
Right.
And these are people that do basic sales. Ms. Jones, how's your back pain affecting your life? Like that doesn't lead to 100 PVA or more.
Right.
So what did we do? I studied how to change beliefs. I mean, the same thing that you do. So, and then interestingly enough, Elon Musk develop a business that aligns with the physics of the universe.
Yes.
Look what he does. He's dealing with electromagnetic force.
Right.
Look at the principle of chiropractic.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
here's one thing. This Keith Crockett, multi-trillionaire, what he said, he goes, and I never thought about this, but it made sense. He goes, you have to have an enemy. And I
Yeah.
thought, well, that's fascinating. So this week on coaching calls, I'm like, hey, did you play sports? What sports did you play, Joe?
Oh, football, box, lacrosse.
Yeah, boxing, right? So in boxing, what was your attitude like? I'm gonna kill that motherfucker. That motherfucker is
Yeah.
going down.
Water boy, tackling fuel. That's what
Yeah,
I did. I got my headspace. Yes.
exactly. Now, if you didn't have an opponent, it wouldn't bring the best out of you.
Correct.
This is the problem with people that are building a practice. They
Yeah.
don't have an opponent.
Correct. Yeah.
Now, I remember hearing the principal, and MDs weren't my opponent because they have good intentions and they're indoctrinated. But what was my opponent? Vaccination, antibiotics, and pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah.
And because we had an opponent, if a parent came in, the mom came in, I made sure we talked about the kids.
Hmm.
They brought the
Yeah.
kids in. They went, how many vaccination workshops did we teach? Shit, I don't know. I couldn't even count.
Yes.
Because we
Yes.
had an opponent.
Yes.
And that's what people that their only goal is to create a patient or build a practice. You don't have an opponent, you're building a business. And
Right.
that may be great and it's not bad, but if you want to when you want to disrupt healthcare, your opponent is the whole pharmaceutical industry.
Yes.
That's
Right.
so much bigger. And
Right.
then you think every family and every generation we add is a shift in consciousness.
Yes.
And that's the big idea. So, what are you doing? You're adding families and generations.
Right.
And when you want to disrupt healthcare, it may take time, right? And now's
Yes.
the time. I'll say one more thing because I know I've been doing all the talking.
Oh,
RFK
take
Jr.
talk, man.
said,
I'm getting fired up right here. Go preach it,
yeah.
baby.
Well, he said, I prayed every day for
Yes.
19
Love that.
years,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, how many prayers and how many decades have we prayed that we would see chiropractic be the tip of the spear in healthcare?
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
now's the time.
Yes. Yes. One of the I mean, there's so many places. When you say enemy, like I never thought of it that way. And as you're saying that, I'm thinking, what was my enemy if there was one? I never thought of it that way. But when I woke up, like who was, and for me, it was the paradigm. It was because I think about a lot of the lectures I did, I always talked about the paradigm. Like, here's the sick paradigm, where are you studying disease or you're studying health, like Dee Dee said, right?
Right. Yeah.
Medicine's the study of what, disease and what makes people sick, right? And chiropractic study of life and health and vitality. So I think for me it was definitely the paradigm that was the enemy. And that I was fighting against the paradigm, the ignorance, the misguidedness, the wrong belief, the wrong pagan god that people would worship, the staff,
Absolutely.
right? The serpent and the staff, right? So it would be that great book, by the way, Serpent and Staff by Chicago Times. But yeah, so I guess from there I would say that's it. When I think about what's going on, like we're talking about with RFK, it was interesting because I brought up ChiroFest with you, and I remember bringing with Paul Reed, who's such a wonderful guy. I mean, he's such a guy too. So I say wonderful. It sounds a little bit almost feminine, but he is just such a top-notch
Oh,
person,
yeah. Yeah.
man of
In
faith,
every
man
way.
of his word. He's just
Oh,
great.
yeah.
I love Paul. So
Great
shout out to
leader,
Paul
too.
Reed. And so we went to. I spoke at his event a couple times, and which was an honor. But I remember being there, and I remember being at Cal Jam with Billy, DeMoss, who invited both of us to speak a few times, and it was, you sit there and you hear all these people, all the years about GMOs and vaccines, and not that that's chiropractic, but it's the paradigm that we're battling against. So it's so awesome to be able to listen to somebody talk about. I remember about one of my professors in college talk about fluoride in the water, penile gland and calcification of the penile gland and how toxic it is. And I was a chemistry major, and you start looking at, well, geez, fluoride's next to chloride. I mean, that it's not good to drink chloride. So how the fuck is it good to drink fluoride? You know what I mean?
Right.
So you start looking at all those things, and so to have somebody up there and not even be anti anything. Just I loved, when he was going through his hearings because he was like, look, I'm just asking questions. I'm
Yeah.
asking a question. Is there safety? Has anyone looked at the potential dangers? Has anybody looked at if I use this one with this one, or if I give them 12 versus 10? Has anyone looked at, relationships between other diseases and autoimmunes? Has anybody looked at dyes in food and seed oils and all these things that we know because we study health and fitness and wellness. It's just so relieving to have somebody up there now say it. I'm not saying they're not removing anyone, but I mean, the days of even mentioning something on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, and, a lot of that's backed way off. And then you got somebody that is head of all the departments who's really talking about these things and asking questions. And he's like, look, he starts from the premise that we're supposed to be healthy. There's a childhood chronic disease epidemic. And therefore, just by saying that, the initial implication is you're supposed to be healthy and you're not. So it's like a plant, right? I use the plant my Monday night. Here's a plant. It's beautiful. Here's a plant. It's sick. What's wrong with the plant? Everyone's like water, sun, nutrients. Exactly. But it's what they don't realize is that's the first reveal of innate. You innately know that's healthy, that's beautiful, that's the way it's supposed to look. We look at children, they're supposed to look beautiful like a healthy plant, something shiny and bright and fun and creative and curious and high energy. And we're not seeing that. And that innately tells us that darkened, dimmed, sick, autistic, speech delay, wet bed wetter, whatever it is, all of those other things, that's the sickness. There's something going wrong. So to be able to ask those questions and have those conversations and start looking at our environment, whether it's chemicals in the air, chemicals in our water, it's just so wonderful. It's a wonderful time to be a chiropractor, because so much of what we have rallied for and rallied against is now, for the first time, is a topic of conversation. And it's okay to talk about it. You're not chastised.
Yeah, well, also I saw this thing where Trump went to Zuckerberg, and basically, because censoring is against First Amendment.
Right.
If you break any constitutional law, you're breaking the Patriotic Act, and the offense for the breaking the Patriotic Act is lifetime imprisonment or death.
Right.
I'm sure Trump, and this is why now you can go to Instagram, Facebook, all these things are being allowed. And I'm sure they have some fact checking, but the reason it's all being shown now is Zuckerberg was confronted. And I saw, nope, we're not censoring, he was on.
Right.
And the next thing is when you look at RFK, I saw this video and he said, here's what I'm committed to, and he basically gives the stats on how sick kids are and everything.
Yes.
And then he said, no, I don't know what's causing it. Yeah, right. Being politically correct.
Right.
I am committed to finding out the answer. And he goes, we're going to interview doctors. We're going to interview mothers. We're going to look at the science. And we're going to look at, all this other stuff. Right. So he's taken a very neutral yet committed approach.
Exactly.
So he doesn't look biased, which is smart.
Sure.
But what are we talking about? It's time to step up. And I will say, we talked about this, you're not going to be coaching forever. And, we have bigger visions, but right now, and I'm putting out this message. If you want to get in the wake, because RFK is like a battleship, guns are loaded. He's cutting a path in the ocean, and he's got a big wake. It's a big boat. So you don't have to, we've been cutting our way through the jungle for 30 years, right?
Yes.
And now all you got to do is hop on your jet ski and get in the fucking wake.
Yes.
And all you have to do is just become a leader aligned with the disruption that's going on.
Yes.
And the thing is, people are going to be they're going to be looking for a leader, because what are some people going to say? But doesn't fluoride strengthen my bones and my teeth? Not anybody that's even paying attention, they already know. But the more pure your message is now, the bigger practice, the more impact. You're going to be looking for a resource they can trust.
Yes. What I will tell you that, and I know it's what you teach and I teach as mentors, as coaches, are scripting. I know there's differences, but the overall vision and and the value and the destination is the same. But that whole idea of make America healthy again, it's so in line with, like getting adjusted is good for you. Like straighter's healthier than crooked. It's in line with going to the chiropractor allows you to be healthy. So when you say make America healthy again, I love that because it doesn't say just this or just that. It's an overall vision statement of make healthy. What is healthy? People know innately what healthy is, right? It doesn't, you're not obese, you're able to function, you're able to be free, you're able to breathe. One of the questions we always ask people in the office is like, hey, listen, let me ask you a question. If you see two 80-year-olds and one takes 6 prescription drugs and one takes 2, right? Which one, just from that alone, you haven't even met them yet, and you're just looking at their file. Which one would you say is healthier? The one that takes more drugs or the one that takes less? I mean, and everyone gets the answer right. So you already know innately, intuitively what health is, even if you don't know it as a metric of a blood pressure or cortisol level or heart rate variability measurements. Like a flower looking at a beautiful plant, like innately that looks healthy. A dog, a cat, a child. So same idea. So now it's nice is like, hey, does this align with making you healthier? Is a straighter spine align with being healthier, or does a crooked spine align with being healthier? So like you're saying, hop on the wave runner, the jet ski, and the wake. We're right there. We're right in alignment. It doesn't mean you need to bring all those other things in your office if you don't want to. I was never a big fan of it. I'd rather refer you out to a nutritionist than be your nutritionist. But I'm not saying it makes you wrong if you want to do that. But I always follow the principle of D.D. Palmer: make chiropractic the center stage in your practice. So I would at least implore any chiropractor out there, make chiropractic the center stage of what it is you do if you're going to add other stuff. But in the end, we're right now is a time where the language is starting to align with what our ultimate goal is as chiropractors. And our goal is to give you a better life. Our vehicle is a chiropractic adjustment, right? So if, because we're aligned with that, it's going to be easier for us. And people, when they come in, that language is changing. So if you align, which is what we teach and what you teach, Fred, the belief, right? You make believers out of them. You start talking the same language, which we do, that aligns with that movement. Man, people are coming in. They almost don't even know the influence that's having on. But yeah, I want to be healthy. It's not, I want to get my sciatica away. I want to live longer. I want to be healthier. I want to have more freedom. I want to have more independence. I want to go play with my grandkids. I want to be able to go to the stadium and walk up the bleachers and not be in a wheelchair to watch my grandkids or even my kids play a game. So we know what healthy is. We have to talk about it, align with it, and connect what we do as chiropractors strongly attached in full alignment with making people healthy again. And I think we're doing it, and it's great. But we definitely need to, make sure that we have a seat at that table. There's no doubt about it. So,
Well, I would say, first of all, what's going to give you the power of leadership? You got to have a bigger purpose.
huge. Yeah.
And then when we talk, again, I'll use Keith Kroc as an example. He created a few multi-billion-dollar industries and companies, and then multiple trillion-dollar industry. But he said his main mission statement was create leaders.
Yes.
And that's it. It's leadership.
Correct.
Great leaders will build bigger, more impactful
Exactly.
practices.
100%.
And to be a great leader, you got to have something that's bigger than yourself. You got to have
Yes.
a purpose that's so much bigger than you, and then speak with conviction. And then, so we just did this 5-day challenge, 5-day event. It was called Disrupt Healthcare, create a chiropractic lifestyle revolution. And I took, all these leaders: Tony Robbins, Steve Jobs, Jeff Bezos, Keith Kroc, Elon Musk, um, Travis Kalanick, and then Reed Hastings, who developed Netflix. And I took 3 principles and from each person. So we have like over 20 principles. And then we showed them how we applied all of those in elite business model. Now, the thing is with you, these are things that you do innately, and we figured this out because nothing else worked. Like when Steve Jobs, become a great storyteller, right?
Yes.
People learn 22 times more in stories. You know, when you look at Travis Kalanick, people over process. What's that mean? Empower. And his definition of people over process is empower people. Now, when you look at what do you do when a patient comes in, yes, you have a pre-consult, yeah, you have a consult, you have all that. People rely so much on systems that you're not tailoring to the person. Like
Yes.
when you think, I need to create a leader like that,
Yes.
and that's what you do. We happen to actually verbalize it as a purpose. We don't create patients, we create leaders. Why? Because if you're going to affect generations, that person has to commit they got to understand the principle. You know, they
Right.
got to want to live it. They got to want to bring their kids. They got to want to tell everybody they know. And you create a leader, they build your practice for you. And then you
Yes.
create a movement. When you create a patient that has purpose because they want to make social change, because they see a problem in the world. Now people are becoming more and more aware of the extent of the problem, of how, in a sense, maybe some people may feel like they've been betrayed, and the information they trusted a source that they didn't do their homework,
Yes.
right? And now they're getting the truth, and you're the truth seeker.
Yes.
So they will transfer their trust and they'll trust you with everything, with their life, with their family, with generations. And then they have purpose to say, you know what, if you want to call it have an opponent, we're not doing that. We're going this way. Like that's the advantage of an opponent is not to create an I don't really like the word enemy spiritually. That doesn't resonate with me.
Sure.
It's but if you have something you're moving away from, then
Sure.
you develop something you're moving toward.
Yeah.
And then
Just,
you add purpose.
yeah.
Then you're gonna go in that direction. And now you're creating a legacy, not a practice.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
And now's the time.
Yeah, and you think about, what again, you say what we believe, where we're headed, where we put our time, where we put our energy, you are seeing a shift where at least again that, repeating myself, but the conversation's changing, which means the direction's changing. And just like you said, my dad always taught me, put the interest of those people you serve ahead of your own. Those were his words. He told me, I was funny, I was listening to Alex Holsey, I think his name is. He does business coaching and such, and he was giving these tips on being successful. And it was listening to my dad. And my dad said to me, you want to. He said, my brother and I. He said, guys, listen, you want to be successful in life. His words. He said, get up early. He said, put your pants on. Be surprised at how difficult it is for people just to get out of bed to go to work. Get out of bed in the morning, put your pants on, go to work. You do the best job you can. He said, and you put the interest of others ahead of yourself. It doesn't mean you can't eat at the table, but you make sure they eat before you. Your interests are always them ahead of yourself. And he said, and you're going to live a great life. He said, you may not be Rockefeller. He said, but you'll live a wonderful, successful life. And that's what you see with these companies. That's what you see with these professions. They put their interest ahead of the everybody else's.
Their
It did,
purpose.
So now if I'm Pfizer, my first interest is to make money. No, 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 no. Your first interest is to serve people, right? But they didn't do that. So that's what messes them up. They do it wrong, right? We've seen that with religious institutions. You see that with companies. So in your office, if you just put the interest of those ahead of yourself, and then you make sure that whatever you do is in alignment with that first principle. So if my job is to make sure that the interest of those people are ahead of me, what can I do to fulfill that first principle? If I'm better educated, do I have better communication? Am I a better adjuster? Am I a better evaluator, analyzer? Am I better clinically? right? Do I take good care of myself to be the best servant? So now then it's easy to say, hey, everything I'm doing is in alignment with that. And if I'm in alignment with that, I could serve more people. And therefore, in the end, by serving them, I get served, right? I serve them first, I get served second. And it's a great way to live. And when you look at this lack of congruency that's occurred in our healthcare for so many years, 50, 60, 70 years, right? You're starting to see some significant disruption and now realignment because like you said, we bought into something and they weren't telling us the truth deliberately, and some people were misinformed, to be fair. But regardless, I put them out as the experts. And now you're realizing, holy cow, almost everything I've heard. Gary Null's research, Death by Medicine, came out a number of years ago. I mean, that, he was like, hey, over 1 million people die a year just from the medical system. So, you start really understanding the ramifications of that. That was 10 years ago. That was 10 million people, 15 million people died as a result of that, just because we weren't paying attention. But now we're paying attention. For the first time in a long time, America drives that angle, and we're starting to pay attention. And by paying attention, you're going to see a realignment, and you're going to see an elevation of us because they're aligning with what we've been preaching for 100 years since D.D. Palmer.
Well, and exactly, man. And now, if you make your purpose to follow the battleship,
Yeah.
you make your purpose to continue the disruption,
better life.
then one, maybe in our lifetime, we can actually see chiropractic be the tip of the spear, which
Yes.
Junior, big chiropractic supporter. And then the next thing is, if you don't know how to do it, I would say, and I don't say this out of ego, I say this out of resume. I
Yeah.
would say you and I probably in our communication and systems are probably some of the two most powerful people in the profession that know how to disrupt a person's mindset
Yes.
and shift
Yes.
them straight into
Yes.
lifestyle.
Agreed.
And
Agreed.
that's what it is, straight into lifestyle right from
Yes.
day one. Now,
Yes.
there's lots of great management groups out there, and
Yes.
everybody can help you in one way or another. And knowing those systems, a lot of them aren't getting people to agree that chiropractic is a healthcare lifestyle for me and my family for the rest of our life. We're
Yes.
getting that agreement on day one.
Yes.
And so that will disrupt healthcare. Now, we have a 5-day, there's 5 recordings, and I show you all the principles of these 7 great leaders, what their mindset is, how they built the business, what the business model is. And we did a recording. There's 5 recordings. If you want that, you can either go to Facebook, DM me, you can go to Elite Coaching, schedule a breakthrough call, and we'll send you those 5 recordings. And we'll show you how to take the thought process of these disruptors that change the world that we live in today,
Yes.
and those principles and how to apply it in your practice.
Yes.
And I know, Joe, I know if you saw these principles, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's exactly what we teach.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's, like we're saying the same thing, just asking. Disruption is that question, but you have to start the question. People will say to you or me, like, wow, you guys are so great disrupting people. You're so great at, you're so good at it. You're so quick at it. Well, partly you've been doing it for a long time. I've been doing it for a long time, but it really starts from the premise. Like if I start from the premise that you're meant to be phenomenally healthy and well and feel great and look great and do well, right? Then the questions are easy. The questions are, I just want to come in when I don't feel good, or I'm feeling really good now. I'm going to stop. It's so easy to just like pick something like, well, I could appreciate that. I've had other people say that. But Fred, let me ask you a question. Is your doctor like, if I was your dentist and you came in with rotten teeth and I said, hey, we got to spend a couple of weeks getting them well, and we do. And then I say to you, hey, listen, Fred, I got to be honest with you. Your smile looks great. We put some veneers, spent a lot of money. Things look good. I'll tell you what, at this point, go back to what you were doing. Don't brush, don't floss, negate it, neglect your teeth, don't take care of them. And then when they get sick and diseased again, and they will, come on and give me a call. Like I ask people, like, does that sound like good advice? And they say no. And then I say to them, then why are you giving yourself that advice when it comes to taking care of your spine and nervous system? And it just but again,
That's a
it's
pattern
some people,
interruption right there.
right? But when you have that conversation, and you're right with me, Fred, you say it's the same stuff, but it's easy for us because we're so grounded with the idea that you're supposed to be healthy and well, right? And it's easy for us to ask that question because you're looking at him. I saw this guy, it was so great. He goes, never try to win an argument. And it was a revelation I had a long time ago. He said, don't try to dominate him. Don't try to make him feel like an idiot. Don't try to make him feel stupid. Like your job in any discussion, especially a disagreement, start the conversation with what can I learn from this? Because if I start the conversation with Fred and we're at odds on something, which I don't know that Fred and I have ever been on odds on anything, but I mean that sincerely.
The only odds were like, dude, are you going to finish that? And like, hell yeah, keep your fork away from my plate.
The
Like,
eggplant parm and carbides, that's a tough one, man.
yeah,
That's a
now
tough one.
let me tell you one story real quick. I remember I was with my wife, somewhere, and then she like offered some food or a taste to a buddy of mine. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. No, if you're gonna eat food, my wife's food, you have to ask me permission. Like
Yes,
you don't
yes.
ask my wife if you can have a bite of her food. No, you ask, that is my place. No, you have to ask me. It's like, how did you not get that? I don't
Right.
understand how you
I'm
didn't get
embarrassed for you that I didn't even need to fucking explain
that.
it to you, to be honest with
Exactly.
you. I mean, honest to God,
I
what
think,
do we got to start with the alphabets right now? I mean, Jesus.
yeah.
Nice.
Hey, but you know what I want to look at now, especially coming off this big disruption thing. Look what you did with the story of the dentist. Steve Jobs, be a great storyteller. That's what you did. Elon Musk says the best thing you can do is understand human consciousness so you can ask better questions.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
like the principles that you're teaching are the same principles of these guys that changed
Yeah.
the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
Yeah.
I did was identify them and go, shit, that's what we do.
That's what we do.
Yeah,
That's
we
what we do.
studied it. That's what we do. And,
We
I
do.
think the thing is, when you and I did this, like, we trust me and trust Joe. We tried fucking everything.
Everything. Everything. Of
And
course.
then we ended up, but because of sheer persistence and
Yes.
purpose, we ended up with the only thing that works:
Right.
storytelling, analogies,
Right.
and asking questions and
Yeah.
changing beliefs.
Yeah. But what got us there was what I love that you said, Fred, is the purpose. Like,
Yeah.
why do I get up off the canvas? Why do I get off the field if I get my, bell rung? Like there's a purpose, so because you're gonna get knocked on your ass. I
Oh
don't
yeah.
care.
And
I
it's a
don't care.
standard.
I don't care how good you are. I'm good at what I do, and I still get knocked on my ass sometimes. The idea of not getting up doesn't even enter my mind.
No.
So because the purpose and vision is big enough, it's bigger than your excuses. It's easy to get up. So,
Yeah.
so I love what these guys said. Find a purpose, right? So
Oh
great.
yeah, I gotta have a North Star. And it's the standard. And that's where I think people blow it in the profession is they settle for what they know.
Yes,
But it's
yes,
like setting the bar, high jump bar at 7'2", running 5 feet under, and then
yes,
jumping on the mat like you won the gold
yes,
medal. That's the
yes.
thing is we set the bar and we were unwilling to run over it, and that bar got
Right,
knocked off a
right.
lot of times, but we never
Yes,
gave up
yes.
until we could clear the bar, and that's
And
how
let's be
it
honest,
started.
Italians, I mean, our vertical height is not that good. Italians just don't have a good. I mean,
I
I'm
think there
just
was a little
saying. I'm
bulge
just
right
saying.
before the bar.
All right, Borio, you warmed up? Well, warmed up. That's my personal best right there, coach.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? That's all I got, man. That's all I got.
I was in the gym this morning and they got new equipment, and you get these big cages and stuff, and there's a pull-up bar right over there. And this shorter girl, she goes, man, they got this new equipment. and the pull-up bars are so high. I'm like, I know, man. You need a vertical to jump up and do pull-ups. She goes, yesterday I had to jump up 3 times. And I'm like, I know, but what do the tall people complain? It's like, no, I gotta try to freaking jump up and grab that bar to do some pull-ups, man. Like, what the fuck? I think I missed it the first 2 times.
I told Melody because she's tall, she's about an inch shorter than me, but ladies like to wear heels. She goes, well, you're shorter. Sometimes, you're shorter Italian. And I go, no, I appreciate that. I said, well, here's how you do it. You either deal with it, number one, don't wear heels, number two, if it bothers you, or three, get a new boyfriend. I mean, it's real easy, man.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
crazy.
right.
It ain't because I don't have any problem with it. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? It is what it is. God made me this way. That's it, baby. This is
it's
all you
all I
got.
got. All I got. That's like
That's all I got.
second. Did you see Top Gun, the second movie, Top Gun Maverick, right? So I don't like that look, Maverick. It's the only one I got.
That's the only one I
That's
got.
all I got.
I love that. The other line I love, which you can relate because you're, getting older like me, is the when he gets in the plane and he goes, the F-16. He's like, wow,
Yeah,
it's been a minute
it's
because
been
it'd
a
been so
minute.
long. He's like, wow, it's been a minute. I'm like, man, that's life. Like, holy
Yeah,
shit, that was 40 years ago, 50
yeah,
years ago. Oh my
yeah.
God, that's crazy.
Well, we
Yeah,
gotta go, but the
yeah.
funny
Let's
thing
go.
is, I tell people like we talk about people forget information. That's why, you change
Yes,
beliefs, not patient education. But how do you change beliefs? Through experiences. So
yes,
one of Steve Jobs' principles create, he says verbatim, create insanely great customer experience.
yeah, yeah.
And
Correct.
so I'll say to people, I go, give me a memory when you were in fifth grade. And so
Yeah,
I do this on, this is funny. I do this on one of the recordings. I go, let me see. I know I was living in Pennsylvania, I remember fifth grade. And then I go, I remember Wendy Force. She was like 5'7". I was like 5'3". And she was the only girl with boobs.
yeah,
Yeah. And everybody, all the little boys stared at Wendy Force.
yeah,
It's like, how do I remember Wendy Force? Fifth grade, I was 10. 54 years ago,
yeah,
I can
yeah.
still see her face.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Insane experience is what that was
It
for
was
boy.
insane,
I
man.
mean, let's be honest.
Wendy Force, man.
How
Tall,
you doing?
boobs.
Hey, immediately like, hey, Wendy, how you doing? Hey,
Yeah.
hey, Freddie over here. Freddie, how you doing?
Except I was so shy I couldn't even talk to her at the
Want
time. But it's like,
to go get something to eat? You want to get something to eat? Maybe a
yeah,
drink or
exactly.
something? I got my bicycle out back. What do you
Yeah,
want to
you
do?
look hungry. Yeah,
That
that's funny.
is funny.
So, but
All
yeah, that's
right. We got Boreal Boot Camp coming up May 2nd. Go online, register. It's insane. It's a 1-day intensive. It's absolutely fantastic. So we teach everything. Our 6 days, most important days of practice. CAs are welcome. We encourage you to bring your staff. There's a one-time fee if you're a non-client, which involves your whole team. Obviously, if you're a client, if you're part of Chiropassion, there's a discounted fee. So we'd love to see you there May 2nd, Fort Lauderdale.
cool, man. We have our day one, day two, perfect day one, day two boot camp coming up in June, 6th through the 8th. Go to Elite Coaching, look that up. And this series, the day one, day two is in June. The retention lifestyle is in August, so it's 2 parts. But we're going to go through all these principles on the disruptors, and we're going to show you directly how we apply that in Elite, and you can create, boom, right there, create leaders
That's
on the
great.
spot. So that's going to be cool. So
That is cool. That's great.
thanks, brother. Love you,
All
man.
right, Freddie, talk to you, brother.
Yeah, man. I'll talk to you soon.